Good morning, my brothers and sisters. It is our 30th day of quarantine here in Akron, and I'd like to take you to Luke chapter 24, verse 13. It's a tale of two men on the road to Emmaus. I will read verse 13 of Luke chapter 24. That very day, two of them were going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they were talking with each other about all these things that had happened just after the day of resurrection. This is Sunday, the Resurrection Sunday. While they were talking and discussing together, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What is this conversation that you are holding with each other as you walk?" And they stood still, looking sad. One of them, named Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened here in these days?" And he said to him, "What things?" And they said to him, "Concerning Jesus of Nazareth, a man who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people." An interesting description. "And how our chief priests and rulers delivered him up to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the third day since these things have happened. Moreover, some women of our company amazed us. They were at the tomb early in the morning, and when they did not find the body, they came back saying that they had even seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but him they did not see. And he, Jesus, said to them, 'O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken.'" I want to stop right there. First of all, we find these guys on Sunday, Easter Sunday, leaving Jerusalem. Like life goes on, we got things to do. We've heard some stories. It's past the time when some people have interacted with Jesus, but apparently they've moved on. But Jesus shows up with them, asks them a question that stops them in their tracks. And he says to them, "What is this conversation that you are holding with each other?" And then this part caught my eye. And they stood still, looking sad. So we have all this evidence that these guys have. We have the testimony of the women. We have angels. Then we have the testimony of those that went to the tomb and saw it and saw that there was no body. And despite all this, and despite their background of knowing that Jesus was a prophet and great in word and deed, in other words, they had seen some of his miracles, he goes into the prophet category rather than the Lord category. So they get a rebuke at the end of today's scripture when Jesus says to them, "O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe." And then it's interesting what he says that they don't believe. And what they don't believe is not all the activity that I just mentioned, the women, the angels, the fellow disciples. Slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. In other words, you're missing it even from the prophets, from the Old Testament. So he doesn't say, "Oh, you guys are careful in your belief system and you're wise in your belief system because you're really wanting to be discerning whether Jesus really was or wasn't." No, he just rebukes them and says, "You don't know the Old Testament prophets, and then obviously you don't believe what happened here today." This is Easter Sunday that this takes place. So there's a lot of lessons here. Don't be like these guys. Don't be slow of heart. Open our eyes, our emotions. So let me do this. Let me pray and then maybe tomorrow or another day we'll come back to the second half of what happens on the road to Emmaus. So, Lord, I pray for my brothers and sisters. I pray, Lord, that we would not be like these two guys, slow of heart. I pray that we would come to belief quickly. I pray that our emotions would be correct. I pray that the direction of our travel would be correct and our activities would be towards you. Lord, help us not to ignore what's in your word, what's in your prophets, what's in your New Testament, that we could know without knowing. Help us to really, really know you. I bless you, my brothers and sisters.